Hey everyone, I always mess up the first clip. Tradition. Yes. Reset. Hey everyone, welcome to Content and Conversation. I'm excited to be welcoming Neville Medhora of Copywriting Kourse, also a participant in AppSumo, the Sumo, and I want to redo that. It's harder than it looks.
It doesn't look hard, actually.
All right. Neville also takes part and helps out with Sumo and also the Hustle as well as other startups. Definitely is putting his very many skills out into the world and making an impact. And yeah, we're excited to have him here in Austin as our first Content and Conversation Austin guest. And I figured it would be a good starting point for the conversation. And one of the things I'm kind of worried about that I think I hear a lot from Austin people is that, or outside people, that there's a reputation Austin is weird. And I don't really buy that. I don't see much weirdness here. It's a cool town, but I don't know. What's your opinion as someone from Houston?
I think all you Californians are moving here and making it not weird.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're kind of strange.
Yes.
But yeah, you're coming and making it more
That's
unstrange.
true. I am from San Diego and now have moved here basically. And now we have a lot of other Californians here. So it is probably pretty accurate.
Well, we welcome you. We love your city too.
No, I don't know
cool.
that everyone does, actually. One of the amazing things about Austin is there's really nice people here in general. So that's probably the exception rather than
Cheaper
the
cost
rule.
of living, a lot of educated people.
Good tech people,
kind of a
smart
mix
tech
of
people.
different industries.
Yeah.
We should have wore cowboy hats the whole time.
Yeah,
that would have clarified it.
So Neville, yeah, we're excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Clearly your expertise is in copywriting, sales copywriting, lots of different places, clearly in tech. But when the first time I came across you, and I think is worth sharing with our audience, is the story of how you actually pretended to be homeless for the benefit of copywriting.
4 nights, 5 days, I did it, yeah.
Wow. And when I saw that, I saw the photos, I saw the story, I was blown away, and I think I told several people. I'm sure it's one of your most successful posts, but like, what made you do that? Talk us through that.
Yeah, it was probably like a full 10 years ago that I did that, and that was on my first blog. I had a Nev blog. It was originally a personal blog, and what I found out through that experiment I was just like, what would happen if I become homeless? And I decided to just document it, and I didn't know anything about SEO or anything at the time. And what I found out was if you just go out in the real world and do something and document it, it is far more interesting than just talking about it in a blog post. So if I were to be like, I wonder what would happen, I predict this, that would have gone nowhere. You never would have heard about it. Instead, I went out there and I tried to look as homeless as possible. And there's all these crazy pictures of me living under a bridge and stuff like that.
We'll link to that in the show notes.
Yeah, it's pretty funny sometimes. But that was just very, very interesting. People were all when I was telling people about it, they were like, that is the stupidest idea I've ever heard in my life, but I really want to know what happens. So that's where I first got the hint. I was like, oh, if I go and do real live world stuff, it's way more interesting. And since then, I've actually done a couple variations of that. I did this one really popular post about a shoe hospital here in town. I used to pass by this place that was called a shoe hospital, and I always thought, that's a funny name. I assumed they repair shoes. And so I went in there one day, and the guy was showing me all the stuff they did, and I had no idea. I was like, wow, shoe hospitals are awesome. They do this awesome work. They recolor shoes. They'll completely take a bad shoe and make it a great shoe. Okay. So I made them this A-frame to put outside the sidewalk. And I actually went and made it for the post. It cost me $160 to print them both out. And they instantly, overnight, got 50% more walk-ins each and every day. And the average order value was $50 to $95 per walk-in or more. So they were getting 4 more walk-ins per day just from that A-frame.
It's interesting that it sort of relates to your homeless story. Has subsequent physical businesses asked you can you make a sign for the sidewalk for us? Yeah,
we did another, one of our most popular guest posts was a guy who took our advice and did a power washing thing. So he's sending out these flyers for get your house power washed, and he got 0 results. So he started reading Copywriting Kourse, and he bought our thing, and he was just like, what if I try it this way? So he sent out these differently copywritten flyers and started making a bunch of money. I think on the post it said $13,000 a month his his company was bringing in after that. And people loved that post because it was real world stuff, and they actually saw him like in the shiny vest, like power washing stuff. It made it real rather than just saying like, this is what you could do. So real world stuff is always better than theoretical stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that actually reminds me of something I just read about interviewing, which actually is good context for this. Is specifically, a lot of people will ask someone a question and just say, and be like, how did you grow this great company? And they would say, we hired our great team, but you didn't, and they don't, we hired a great team. And then really had to make that useful and more concrete, you actually need, like, how did you do that? What were the steps behind that? And that's kind of like probably the digital version of what you're describing, is you're actually seeing the real world.
I like specific stuff, like can you show it on a screen? So it's like, what did you do? And they're like, well, we were cold emailing. Wait. Show me the cold email. I want to see it. Like, what did the cold email look like? And to the person, they're like, well, that's not irrelevant, but like for people listening, they want to see that actual stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's super helpful whenever you just show the thing instead of talk about it.
Yeah, and it's another like layer of work that differentiates you too. I think is probably all. Like anyone can regurgitate a couple tips, but functionally taking the extra step to actually go out and do it.
Yeah, it's way more work.
Yes.
Yeah, but if you're trying to
better
get like
story.
Yeah, if you're trying to get ranked in the in with SEO, it's just like you have to have the best piece of content in the world about that subject. And if you go out and actually do the thing, it's so much better.
Yeah.
Like at AppSumo, one thing we used to do was instead of talking about building an email list, we'll be like, okay, let's build an email list from scratch and ask the audience like, what do they want to sell? And someone would be like, beef jerky, and be like, okay, let's build a beef jerky company. Let's see what happens. And sometimes it would totally fail.
Okay.
Sometimes it would not go so well, but that was part of the process. That was interesting to people to see it done from scratch in every single step of the way, rather than just being like, here's the theoretical steps you would do to build a beef jerky company.
Yeah, and a lot of time it just gives you credibility that you've actually done the thing. Like so many people can there are tons of people out there that are just rewriting shit online, unfortunately.
Yeah, how do those articles do?
Some of them, unfortunately, they're on
in the long run,
though,
in the long
right.
run,
No,
I don't think
it definitely
well.
it can. You hear the stories like that person ghostwrites, and that's not very effective.
That's what happens when like a Google update
reputation.
comes around and you see the site just drop, and you're like, let me guess, they had a bunch of just kind of like that, just regurgitated content.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So speaking of differentiation, another thing that stood out when I originally saw your site, and still today, is just your unique branding. I think the casualness, obviously, casualness of your site and your illustrations, which we'll show and you pull out here, I think are amazing. So I'm curious, like, what led you to that decision? It's informal for sure, but effective still. It's like professional but informal.
So what happened originally was I suck at drawing.
Okay.
But I love drawing on my iPad, but I just can't draw. And so I would make all these images kind of like this, where if I had to describe someone, I'd be like, what's the question to this? A question post. I would use this as the intro because it shows a guy that's like kind of questioning things, and there's no words needed to be involved. So I use a lot of like silly drawings like this. One, you always know it's my post whenever you see something like this. It takes a little longer to draw it, but I have fun doing it, and it just really adds a nice little flair to it. The other thing I like doing is I think images can far surpass text. You know, there's certain people in the world that still can't read. Babies can't read, but they can see something and understand it. So instead of saying like, this is a person relaxed in a meditative state, I could just show someone, and even without the text of saying like Om or something like that, you get the point much quicker with just as heading. Also, you know it's me. I also have a little watermark on all the pictures so people can't steal my content as much. That's a big thing.
They would know. They'd know. I mean, your definitive style.
People who steal content are pretty lazy and just scrape the text, but they don't want to go and like actually change up your PNGs. So I do that. That's an extra layer of protection. Yeah.
Nice. One thing that SEOs, maybe this is just my dirty SEO mind, is you look for, one strategy people have is actually let people steal your photos. And then you monitor the photos and you reach out to them and say, link back to me. You stole my photo. Because a lot of people will just think they can get away with stealing your crap.
I just write copywritingcourse.com on there. So if they're linked, it's like people can see that it's there.
Yeah.
Extra layer.
Yeah. Watermarking probably does dissuade people a little. We don't use any stock photos on our clients that are watermarked because they just don't look good. But it makes sense, total sense. I mean, if you're an artist, the great artist that you are.
Artist, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm an artist.
But I think that's an interesting point too, that you're clearly, even though you're a copywriter, you've almost said people don't read. You're not attached to copywriting.
Well, it's
at all.
kind of like, so one of the reasons we call it like Copywriting Course with a K, other than that we couldn't get the domain originally, was copywriting was like this art of changing words around, right? And so when you change words around, that's one thing. But like if this was the 1500s, changing words around would be some high-tech stuff. But now we've got phones, so we can use text, we can use videos, we can use images, we can use GIFs. In the future, we'll be able to use some sort of like virtual reality experience. And so we have all these things at our disposal to communicate information. So the whole point of copywriting to me is how do I get information into your brain the fastest, or information from my brain to a million different brains the fastest way. And sometimes text is not the best way to do it. There's other mediums you can use. So that's why I love images, I love videos, I love GIFs. GIFs especially, that's my favorite. Yeah.
So you're an animator too?
I wouldn't say I'm an animator, but I can animate crappy GIFs.
Comics.
Yes.
Nice, nice. Do you have any like specific formula for your posts, like 3 paragraphs, I gotta have an image, or is it just like going on feel?
I always like having a header image. That's always a fun type of thing. I can show you an example. I also do this for the emails. So this came up. I hope you might need to put up a slide of this one, but here's a post I had about being a single threat, a double threat, or a triple threat based on your skill level, right? If you can only write text, you're a single threat. If you can write text and make images, you're a double threat. You write text, images, and make videos, you're a triple threat. And the triple threat person is just a more effective person, has higher income opportunities over the long run, right? And so to open up this email, instead of saying what I just told you, which is kind of a rich concept to understand, I just have this picture of like a guy with like a tiny little butter knife, and he's really small. And then the bigger guy has like this, one of those like medieval chain things and a big sword. And the triple threat guy just looks badass and has like a flamethrower and a tank and a gun. Like he's going out in the world like fully armed. So I thought that was just like a fun way to demonstrate a triple threat rather than like, you know, just say the words. And also when people see that image, they're just like, what? Like, so and it makes them click. Yeah.
On your sales copywriting, for emails, you lead with images a lot too.
Oh, almost all the time. I mean, not every time, but a lot. I like it, yeah.
I've seen, I mean, there are different modes of thought that I've read, like some people, and we're actually doing this today. I haven't done any testing around it, because you've probably done way more than I have, of just like a straight text post. Some people, I think, are attached to that. Others are like full super
But see, go back. Why are they attached to it? What's the reason? Tell me.
I don't know. The informality feels like I'm being written to me.
See, that's not a real reason. Yeah, the thing is, it's like people look forward to getting a specific person's emails. Like if your wife sent you an email, you'd probably open it, right? It doesn't matter what her subject line is, right? So I always follow the style of I try to write for humans. And then like the technology will eventually figure it out. Same with emails. Also, there's a newsletter I'm part of called thehustle.co that goes out to now like 1.3 million people per day. And if you sign up to that email newsletter, you'll notice at the top there's a GIF or at least a picture at the top of every single issue. Because it just grabs you and it tells you what it's about. Like there's a funny picture of Jeff Bezos buying a jet or something like that. And you just know that that's going to be inside the issue. So always having that grabber image is, I don't think it's necessary, but I use it a lot.
I mean, it's just another good differentiator, I think.
Plus I like drawing stupid drawings. It's kind of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is another like going back to like sunk cost thing, just ups your quality. Is it the same image that also, those are single emails and sometimes pushing to your blog post too?
I have a trick for that if you want to know.
Sure.
Because that is a super common question. People ask, okay, should I include all the information in the email, or should I just put a little teaser and then send people to the blog post? My theory is on this, like my goal of the post is to get people to read the whole post, right? So if the post doesn't have any action to take on the website, for example, comments, then I include the entire post inside the email. And then I also have a link that they can go to the page. If I want comments though, I will only send a teaser so they can go to the actual page where they can actually leave a comment.
So what situation would you not want comments?
There's a lot of posts that sometimes I don't need people's feedback. Like I just don't think it's going to be interesting. Or sometimes on posts where, you know, let's be honest, not every post is the A player. Yeah. You know? Sometimes you got B, sometimes C-level content that I don't necessarily want to interrupt people's day with. So I'll be like, look, here's here's all the information. You could take it or leave it. I don't need you to click over. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I want to save your trust for when I have like a really bomb-ass post. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing you're making me think of with the images in the posts, so like our audience is a lot of SEOs and email and content marketers. A lot of them are doing email outreach. And we've talked previously, and one strategy you suggested to me, maybe you could touch on it, are these images in email outreach when you're promoting content. As a potential template that you might use, the image preview model. I sort of described it there, but I don't know if there's additional context of why that's specifically useful. I mean, you sort of touched on it. But.
Like the image preview in an email, like at the very beginning?
Yeah, well, for example, we were talking about different posts that we create for our clients, and there's we invested a lot of time in high-end design, or in your situation, differentiated design, and that makes you stand out. So you want to give that to someone if it's a cold outreach email, or that was the theory I thought. Or
you're talking about cold outreach.
Yeah, cold outreach.
See, this is a whole different game.
Yeah, cold outreach.
This is a whole different game. So
you're promoting content. Yeah.
Yeah, cold outreach, if you are trying to get someone to take an action with a cold email, I mean, what the data shows is that the shorter the better. In fact, like almost so comically short that it looks like you took no time to write it, like under 10 words sometimes, works the best. I think graphics also work well in cold emails if there's some sort of use for them. Like for example, if you're trying to show a chart of someone's traffic that went up after using Siege Media, that's a good graphic. Like I said, I never think of it as text versus images versus video. I think of what is the best way to get the point across. And nowadays you can use all of them. And I don't think we're past the days where you get like spammed if you have an image in your thing. Like we're really not there. Like these email systems are very smart now. So I never view it as text versus image or anything. It's just like, what is the best way to get this point across? So I always work backwards with cold emails, and I say, okay, what is the one silver bullet you're trying to do here? Are you trying to get them to call you on the phone? Are you trying to get them to schedule like a little Calendly thing? Like what are you trying to do? And work backwards from that.
Okay, nice.
So yeah, so if Siege Media is trying to send out something to like get people, get L'Oreal to link something, right? So it's just like the goal is for them to link your content, then you know how to build that email up backwards. I never start from the beginning. I always start from the end.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, on email structure, one thing that we agreed on that I don't think everyone is doing, and it's just, I think, a very common copywriting formula, and I'm curious how often you use this outside of email outreach, is the Ada Copywriting Formula. Could you describe that?
All the time. I use it for everything. I use it like in stories I tell in person. Let me show people just so, like I said, showing is better than doing. So what you're about to see here is a really, really simple outline called AIDA, A-I-D-A. And it means attention, interest, desire, action. This has been around for a long time. It's in that movie Glengarry Ross, whatever it's called. It's a very popular formula, and it's super interesting, especially for emails. Because what it does is it takes people through the natural flow of getting them interested in something, or getting their attention first, so they read it, getting their interest, so you tell them interesting facts, interesting testimonials, interesting uses, and then you make them want to desire it themselves. You don't say, you go buy this. You have to trick them into thinking they want this, and then you have to give them an action to take. So you go click this to buy, go to Amazon to buy, whatever it is. And so it kind of looks like this. This is the outline I use with all my consulting clients, from small to medium to large companies. It works the exact same way every single time. And the biggest fear of most people is to start writing from a blank page. Like we've all sat down and you're just sitting at a blank page and you're like, what do I even, like what key do I hit first? With this, I type in subject 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the purpose of the email, right? Like what is the one thing we're trying to do on this email?
Okay.
And then I write out attention, interest, desire, action, exactly in this format, and I write stuff as a placeholder. Like this is actually what I do. I have a template that I just copy from each time. And if you want me to give you an example of how this works?
Yeah, sure.
I'll show you. I'll try to sell you.
I think in the context of our listener situation, as you're trying to promote content, how would you suggest that structure?
Well, how about this? Can I show you like that? It's kind of boring. Can I show you
That's
a better
our
way?
Audience. We're boring people.
Can I try to show you a better way? I'm going to try to sell you.
I can talk about the boring one.
I'm going to sell you on drinking more water. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah. So using the Ada formula, if I want to get Ross to drink more water, what would I do? Would I just be like, Ross, drink more water, right? I'll keep holding this. Ross, drink more water. That's probably not going to work, right? Okay, so now how do I do it? Now without this, I'd have to be like, okay, how am I gonna convince him? With this, I could say attention. Let me get Ross's attention. You look like a moderately fit guy. Not really, but wow. Moderately. Like you look like you're trying. Wow. Yeah. So it'd be like, Ross, you work out, right?
Yeah, I try to.
You try
moderately.
You try to work out. You go to the gym. You're not spending all your time there, but you're trying to get the most out of the results, right? Okay, so now I got his attention. He's interested in something here. So now let's, insulting him, yes. Like, you don't look that strong. Let's fix that. So the interest part would be, let's tell him interesting things. So I'd be like, did you know, like, there's a pretty easy way to get pretty much 30% more gains on all the lifting you do. Would you be interested in that? Like, you go there and you get 30% more results for the same amount of time you spend. That would be interesting, right?
Yeah.
So the way that protein is built in your body is through amino acids interacting with H2O, water. Meaning, before you work out, you need to drink a lot of water. Not during, but before. That means you have a lot of the universal solvent, water, that amino acids can react with to create more protein to build up your muscles, right? Mm-hmm. That's how it's made.
Right.
Science, that's how it's made. Now, let's make him desire it, okay? So if you go to the gym for an hour each time, and you do this consistently for a few months, by drinking 1 liter of water before you enter the gym, right before you enter the gym, just 1 liter of water, just chug it, you will get 30% more muscle gains. That's all. Okay. So now, your action, let's get him to take action. Next time you go to the gym, today, tomorrow, something like that?
Maybe.
Will you chug 1 liter of water before going? Is that hard? You're wanting to take a drink now, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so that's how I'd use the Ada technique to get him to drink more water. Now, what I just told you was total bullshit. I don't know if that's true at all. If you drink more water, it gets you to build more muscle.
We're liars.
I made that up, but the point is I use that formula, and you can use it for good or evil, whichever one you want. Yeah, so that's the Ada formula, and that's a great way to just kind of like, to put your thoughts down on paper, and then you erase the attention, interest, desire, action, your email is done. It's great. So that is a very common format people use for emails. They also use it for content, but it's great for emails and sales pitches.
Nice. Yeah. To put it in the boring context, I got to do it for our viewers. We, in our situation when we're doing emails, our attention is functionally, from a cold pitch perspective, and I definitely pick this apart after I describe it, is one, make them know that we actually read their blog. So we put it in a context, we read X or Y and clearly customized it, not in a bullshit way, like just putting the title of it, but actual context and commentary that makes it relate to what they have as attention. Like, it is rare for anyone to get a pitch that actually makes sense. And also in the subject line, we do the same thing. We put their website name and also hopefully an attractive title about the content we're pitching. Interest would be describing the content in a way that's compelling. Maybe it's an animation. It's a really in-depth guide that we spent 300 hours on.
Or is the #1 article on CNN, some ranking about it, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe it's something like that. Like, we submitted it to Reddit, it's gotten a ton of views, things like that. I would love that traffic on my site. Or you could also put it in context, like go to BuzzSumo. This performs very similar. We think this fits in the same context for this other article that did really well for you. We think it'll perform well, or we think this will drive a lot of search traffic, blah, blah, blah. Hopefully they're desiring that, and then give them the link, and obviously action, if you'd like to share this or link to this, close the funnel that way. And that's our Ada formula. So
yep, pretty much the exact same thing. You could apply it to anything. It's great. It is like a universal formula. And people start picking it apart, like, what if you add this, this, this? It's like, sure, you can, but like that is the basic skeleton formula. All these companies use this, from small freelancers to mid-sized companies to gigantic companies.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw some really in-depth posts on like 400 copywriting templates or formulas. And I'm curious, it's like, is that just your one go-to? Are there another formula?
I'm in the whole copywriting world, so I'm like, I want to know all the formulas. Honestly, it's kind of like
through
Ada every time. Every time. I've tried to use other formulas, but it's kind of like agitate the buyer, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of like, are you really trying to agitate the customer? You know, like, I feel like there's specific uses for some of these other formulas, but honestly, Ada over and over and over and over. It's just what comes up every time. It's what people like. It's what people understand, and it just totally works.
Yeah, and it's easy to remember and reference and tell people. I think that probably helps its stickiness too.
Yeah, Ada, that's the one you need to know.
Yeah.
Forget all the rest. Yeah.
Nice. So a lot of people are doing keyword-driven articles and things like that. I'm just curious from a sales copywriting perspective, if you see something commonly of these like SEO people and what they're doing poorly a lot that you think they could do better.
So I wish I had an image for this, but it's a write the content for humans and the computer will eventually figure it out. Right? The computer will eventually figure it out. I think too many SEOs get caught up in these tactics that like, oh, this guy did this and his ranking is #1 and his article isn't good. But guess what? The next penguin update, the next panda update, the next whatever update, they end up going down. So if you're in it for the long run, write your articles for humans. So your title, like my title, is always for humans. The slug will obviously be the keyword. Like the computer kind of needs that for a little assistance. But then the article, I always write it for humans. I don't try to write something just based on a bunch of keywords. That's like, this isn't 1998 when Alta Vista was still around and you can stuff the keyword Ross Hudgens in it 1,000 times and you'd be #1. Like the computer's way more advanced than that now. And it gets more advanced every 6 months. Gradually every day it gets a little bit better and it figures out your little tactics. So I always try to tell people, like if you're doing content marketing, my thought is Google's, let's just be honest, there's like one search engine out there, but Google's job is to take a query in and point you to the best resource in the world on that query, right? So whether it's a podcast, whether it's a piece of content, whether it's a video, and like in the future, VR, AR, something, whatever it is in the future, it is its job to point you to the best resource in the world. And your article or video or podcast should be that resource. Now, does that mean stuffing in a bunch of keywords? No, that's not the way to do it. So I always try to go for like, what is the best content resource for this at all?
Okay.
So we do a little bit of SEO research in the beginning, but then it just ends there. Okay. Say, how is this the best damn article ever?
So it's sort of, you've probably heard of the Skyscraper Technique.
Yes.
Sort of sounds like a similar concept.
Shout out Brian Dean.
Yes,
yeah.
Brian Dean.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a good marketer.
Yeah.
We've had him on.
He's great. He's like the prototypical example in the SEO world for everyone. Brian Dean only has 30 articles, but ranks so high. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone loves
he does
this guy.
it, basically. I mean, I would generally agree with that philosophy. I do think we do similar thing. We put the keyword slug in the URL. I do think you should have some kind of slight de-optimization, like blog or learn or something slightly that could help. But if you have a de-optimized title like you talked about, written for humans, more often than not, you're doing that. You try to keep it slightly closer to the front if it's possible. Don't freak out about it. Like if it's helping click-through rate, which is probably making it a better article, if the click-through rate is matching the expectation of the article, all those things are probably informing actual success.
This might actually segue into something I call like the modules technique. I actually came and spoke to Sage Media about it. You want to talk about that? Like,
Yeah. I think that was one thing. Definitely right for humans. I think there is some deliberate practice on things like that you have to think about in order to kind of accelerate the process when you don't have domain authority. So, I mean, speak to that and I can add some.
Yeah, so a lot of companies they're like hire us to kind of like make their content better. And I basically tell them about this thing called the modules, like content modules, right? That's just what I call it. It's not a very creative name. You gotta help me come up with like a better name. Like
our SEMR is not a snazzy word, but shareable assets.
Yeah,
is what we
so
call
this
it.
is it, and we'll put this up. It's not that important that you see this at the moment. But there's a typical like 4-step process of just like, let's say someone has a piece of content that is not ranking very high. It's like number 25 in the search engine rankings. And they say, how do we get it higher? Well, there's the obvious answer of like more links and stuff like that, but how do you make the content better? So they're always surprised that I don't actually read what they write. I don't care what the copywriting says about it necessarily. Let's say it's a big old article about something. First, I create an angle for it to rank for a specific keyword. So all the SEOs out there know this already. We make the headline a little bit better. So that's step 2, easy. We add a grabbing image as the header. A lot of these articles have no image in the beginning.
There's studies that show there's better engagement if you have a good, colorful, I think it's by Clorox, maybe that sounds wrong, but functionally, yeah, someone did a study that engaging, colorful photo above
something
the
that explains what you're going to learn in image
site
format, which takes your brain like 0 time to process versus
and
text.
establishes trust.
And then we go on this whole thing of like, how can we add modules to the content? Meaning you probably already have explained something. Can you give me an example of like one piece of content that you have?
Yeah, so one might be we did how to create a flower booth. What was that? Flower wall?
Flower wall?
we did what was the balloon? We created a balloon arch. So it's like, functionally what it sounds like, created balloons, and if you're doing a party or something like that.
So making balloon art.
Arch.
Arch.
Yeah, so imagine an arch over us.
So this is a big old Skyscraper article about how to make a balloon arch, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so it's got all the different, how to pick the colors, all that stuff in it, right?
How to make it.
Okay,
blah, blah.
So I'm not really worried about, like I'm sure you have a lot of cool images and stuff like that. So what can we add to that piece of content? So, so in the modules, I have a bunch listed out. So make a cheat sheet or a table of contents. This one is super easy because I bet you have like 7 sections in there. Why not just take all those sections, put it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the beginning and the end. And now that is a cheat sheet and a table of contents, right? Cheat sheet at the table of contents at the beginning, cheat sheet at the end. So if someone kind of already knows how to make a balloon arch, they just want the steps, they could just say, let's just look at that and we got what we needed.
Yeah, yeah.
So already you've made your article a little bit more useful with this little cheat sheet. The other one is like putting up a scale or a rating system. So let's say in there you've created 5 different types of balloon arches. And with the scale, you can use TablePress or one of those WordPress plugins to make a sortable table, show an image of each one, and then show how many balloons it takes. So maybe one of them only takes 20 balloons, one of them takes 2,000 balloons. Well, that's a big difference.
Okay.
Which one do you pick? If you make a table that they can sort by least balloons to most or vice versa, that's super helpful. Also, maybe label them as medium, difficult, hard, something like that.
Okay.
Or easy, medium, difficult. So you can have this great rating system, the balloon arch rating system. Already, kind of a cool thing. Like, that's kind of cool. Embed a picture gallery. That one's super cool for this. A whole picture gallery of different types of balloon arches. It's why Pinterest is so popular, why people research balloon arch on there and they'll find a bunch of pictures. That's what they want to see. You can make a cost breakdown. Cost breakdowns are great. Notice we haven't added any new text at all to this post yet.
Yeah,
but we've already made it way better than anyone else's balloon arch post out there. So we'll post all the rest. But basically, you can add all these different modules, and then the one I always like at the end is make templates, like shareable templates. So either like a cutout or a template or like a little how-to guide that they could download. So if the point of this email is to get this post is to get email signups, you can have them download this entire post with the templates at the end to grab their email address. So like I said, none of this. Do you like my throwing? Yeah, there you go.
That's quite an effect.
Yeah, none of the stuff I said we wrote really any copy for, but we made it a lot better post. And there's a lot of different modules they can explore that will show them that can make a post immensely better than any other content out there.
And I think, I mean, the concept, there's a few things that does really well. One, it just enhances the post with rich media. I think there are some studies that show posts with like rich media things like video, photos, even tables, stuff like that rank better on average. Also, I think one of the things we do with our posts and our clients is, and I think this is one of the main benefits, the reasons you do this, is to make it more linkable. So when you give people so many options of things they can share and link to that make it low friction for them to write a post about you, like the review thing or the table of contents checklist, or even like in our balloon arch example, we created a video. We created single images of each step. We also created a full infographic that tied together all the steps, functionally giving them many different options of things they could embed and share. And if you give people, not every blogger wants to share a video or an infographic. Maybe they just want to share 1 or 2 videos. Maybe they just want to share the one chart. Really just depends.
Also, when you're doing outreach in the emails, like we talked about with your team, if you have all these assets in there, like a cool chart with the cost breakdown and the number of balloons and the pictures, you can take a screenshot of that and put it in the cold outreach email to get more engagement. Because someone's like, wow, I've never seen like a breakdown of balloon arches so detailed before. This is the greatest post ever. So the more assets you have, the easier it is to promote it. Also on social media, when you promote it, each of those things, it's its own little asset that you can share on Facebook, Instagram, etc.
Nice.
Yeah. So I love the modules theory, but we do have to come up with a better name.
I don't like shareable assets either. That's kind of boring. Maybe, yeah. Ada has it made, I guess. I guess that's not that great in context either.
Ada's good.
It's memorable. Both of them are. I mean, so I guess, yeah, this has been great. I think a good way to kind of close things out. You were gracious enough to bring some books here. I thought it'd be great, given your experience and the SEO world who's trying to do content marketing, trying to excel and stand out. It's like, what are some books that you highly recommend? And also, what was like that main takeaway that you got from those?
Yeah. And so I will tell you, and so got a little stack of books over here we'll go through real quick. And I want to tell you why I'm showing you these books. I have read every book about copywriting. I buy pretty much every single book that comes out on Amazon on copywriting. A lot of them are extremely long for no reason. Like I spend all this time and I get like kind of nothing out of it. So the books that I will tell you to invest your time in, these are 3 main ones I talk about. One is this one. So Advertising Secrets of the Written Word by Joseph Sugarman. He's the guy who invented blue blockers. You remember those glasses from back in the day?
Yes.
They had those infomercials everywhere.
Okay.
This guy was one of the few marketers way back in the day that was like kind of legit, like, because it was pretty scammy back in the direct marketing days in the 70s and 60s. It was really
that looks
scammy.
old school.
This is old school,
you
and I
look it
believe
up,
they've changed the name to the Adweek Copywriting
So
book.
Advertising Secrets of the Written Word.
Yeah, the reason I brought
people
this
that are
one instead of the
listening
new
to
one was because he signed it for me. So I like
Nice,
that part of it.
nice.
That's why I just bought this one. But it's called, I think now it's called the Adweek Copywriting book. They bought the rights to it. And the thing that you learn in here is what he calls, he has these 30 triggers that I found very, very compelling early on in my career, that almost every human shares roughly the same brain. Like you're different based on where you live and your upbringing, but you're
California.
Yeah. But you know, but is there still greed in California? Yes. Is there still greed in Texas?
A lot of it,
Is
I
there
would
still
say.
greed across the world? Yes. Greed is one of the triggers that you can get people to buy stuff with. Urgency, having something on sale. That is a trigger. So he goes through a list of 30 triggers, and it's a pretty comprehensive and good list. Like there's one I really liked on there called like collectability, and closing the loop of collectability. So back in the day, they'd sell these like collections of quarters or whatever, rare quarters. But they print out, they have like 25 holes in the thing. So you have to get every single one, right?
Like the Monopoly.
Exactly. You just want
McDonald's.
you want to complete it,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So that's like
Even
one of
though
the
it's
triggers.
impossible.
There are 30 of them, and this is really good. I will say this is a great book. I've read it 5+ times. Here's another one I like called Getting Everything You Can Out of All You've Got. And this is by Jay Abraham. He's like a legendary like business coach. He has like 30-something books. They're all pretty good, but honestly, my personal opinion, this one is by far the best and the only one you need. I think it covers everything in here. And he talks like openly about this concept called, he calls preeminence, which is a fancy word for being like the best. So I think you actually talk about this all the time, that don't be 10x better, just be like 2x better instead of 10x.
Over and over and over again.
Exactly.
You're right.
Yeah, so if you're like that guy or that girl, that person or that company that is just consistently just a bit better every single time. So he has a lot of concepts like that. This is a really, really good book. This is one of the few, I have lost this same book 3 times on planes, because it's the only physical book I carry outside of like the Kindle.
Okay.
Because I read everything on Kindle now. This is the only physical book I'll carry. That's a really good one. The other one is Ogilvy on Advertising. This guy,
Heard of that one.
Legend.
Yeah.
This guy's the legend. And the cool part about him is he really likes direct response people because he loves the preciseness of it, versus like Ford trucks advertising like this pretty picture of a a Ford going over a cactus or something like that. It's kind of like, did that just sell a car? Like, what did that just do?
Yeah.
He doesn't like that stuff. So
Okay.
he likes doing these wide-scale, large-scale advertising projects. So for example, his kind of advertising for the Ogilvy and Mather company, one of the biggest agencies in the world, is like, how do we make the entire United Kingdom buy a specific brand of rice? Whoa, that's an interesting question. That's not trying to sell one product. That's trying to change a deeply entrenched brand love of another brand of rice to another one.
Okay.
How do you do that? How do you get the entire world to understand that Puerto Rico is a good place to visit? That's the kind of questions he asks in
answers.
this book.
Okay.
And he answers and shows you tons of examples. I actually have a lot of these examples blown up in my apartment and hung up on the wall because they're just so amazing.
Okay. Nice.
A free one is the Gary Halbert letters. I forgot to bring my whole stack of them. The Gary Halbert letters, the Boron letters, he wrote them from jail in the 70s to his son. This guy was a bit rough around the edges. He was a direct marketer, scammy to a degree, but he was a master at keeping attention. So what I did when I first found out about copywriting, a friend really, really recommended that I do this. He was like, Neville, you've got to go to the internet for free, get the Boron letters from Gary Halbert, and print them all out on paper and staple them together and read them, because that was the intended way.
Okay.
And the way he would kind of like, what you notice more so than his advice, because the advice was like kind of pre-internet, was the way that he kept you hooked. So like at the end of the page, because you're reading a physical page, it would say, and the way we did this is ... and then it's like, oh, well, I have to turn the page now.
Yeah, I gotta finish that
It's kind of how like Netflix gets you, hooked in with they leave it off, so you have to go to the next one. It was kind of the early version of that. So the way that he keeps you interested and the way that he's so off the cuff and like he's pretty fruitful language sometimes was a real big help to my copywriting career. And then if you really want a short, quick crash course, look how thin this thing is.
For people listening,
yeah,
basically an eighth or tenth of the size of the other ones.
48 pages.
But probably just as rich, if not
yeah,
more rich
this is my book called This Book Will Teach You How to Write Better. I wrote it a few years ago as a way to get salespeople to actually understand copywriting in like the most condensed format ever. That was the goal. How can I get people to understand this the best way in the shortest amount of time? And so I have a quick book that'll teach you the basics of copywriting like that. And the other thing is copywritingkourse.com. Always a fantastic resource. We also actually like help you write in our program. Like we don't just teach you, we actually rewrite stuff for you. Yeah, so it's like you get 3 professional copywriters on your team.
Make it concrete. No,
the Ahrefs marketing team just bought 8-year-long licenses. The whole team, yeah. So
that's
it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Nice.
Shameless plug.
It's great. All your content is great. We've signed up for your course and shared around the office, and it's great. So I suggest people check that out. In general, this has been great, and I really appreciate you coming on. Definitely check out Neville's stuff. Go to Copywriting Course, look at all those amazing illustrations, and make sure if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and let us know what you thought in the comments. Thanks for watching.
Can we try something real quick?
Right.
Can we try it and just scrap it if it doesn't work? Yeah. Yeah, audio-wise? Can we do an Ada version of that pitch?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so if we were to pitch to get people to like and subscribe to this, let's do the Ada version. Let's see. So get their attention. It's like, did you like this? Did you like getting this information? I hope so, if they made it there. The interesting thing is there are 1, 2, 3, 4 camera people here, a ton of lights, an entire office. You flew them down to Austin for this. So this must have cost, I don't know what, but a pretty penny, right? To pay for all this. So for you to keep putting out this great content, it has to be worth your time. And if a lot of people subscribe to this, and if a lot of people like it, and a lot of people share it, it's then worth your time for your business.
Right.
So then the people out there get absolutely free content from like top experts. You're gonna have Pep on pretty soon.
Yeah.
Like I just want to hear that myself, and I can't believe he'll just be talking for free. And so if you want this to continue happening, keep liking, subscribing, and sharing, or at least one of those things. And go do it now so Ross doesn't go broke putting out this content.
Nice.